let's come on to the body, and let's start to look at preparing your body for when you get back and play, and giving your body the best chance of swinging the way you want to swing. You're in the golf swing. Every joint, muscle, tendon is involved in a good golf swing. When you can learn to move them well, you end up with a fluid, rhythmical swing. If certain parts of your body are unable to move in the way they're designed, that would affect your rhythm, it would affect your coordination, affect your timing. Now, the reality is all of us probably have some form of restriction somewhere. So don't worry, it's not a case that you have to get your body in perfect order in order to be able to swing the golf club well enough to hit the ball well. That's not the case at all. We know, thousands of examples where people have restrictions, injuries, and they can still time that. That's the wonderful thing about the human body, which actually is a really important point, because the final exercise I'll give you in this little session will be to do with that, being able to learn how do I get the most out of the body I do have. But before we go there, I want to wake up your body, in particular your spine, to be able to do what it needs to do in the golf swing. So the posture is where we're going to start, because your posture is an easy one to think about. So let me just come out here a little bit further. I'm wired up, so I don't want to get too far. Your posture is a relatively easy one to think about, because most people think of posture and they immediately relate to, is it a nice upright posture where everything is fairly stacked up? Is it a slouched posture, which is maybe more common, rather than, sometimes people have a swaying forward posture. So the posture is really important. It's important because it affects where the weight is distributed on the feet. Depending on where the weight is distributed on the feet, that has an impact on how well you can move, because I think there are something like 30 odd joints in the foot. If the weight is not being used through them correctly, that affects every joint above and affects your ability to move. So your posture affects the weight distribution. Your posture affects the shape of the spine. And if the spine is not shaped neutrally, its ability to rotate and turn is affected. And the posture affects you from a level perspective, in terms of, if your posture is this way or this way, then your pelvis, your shoulders, all those sort of things, your knees start to go out of alignment. So the posture is really, really key. Now, many of us are living our lives in cars, at desks, that sort of thing. Okay, many of us are living our lives there. And that, therefore, our bones start to myelinate, start to form in maybe not an ideal position, and that can affect our movement. Through my experience and working particularly with two particular gentlemen at Anatomy in Motion, I've learned that actually we can quickly learn to re-access certain parts of our body. And what our subconscious brain is doing all the time is figuring out, when we're trying to make a movement, is figuring out what's the most efficient way of me doing this, and partly, how do I do this without being in pain? So if you've had an old injury somewhere, sometimes you've learned to move or avoid that part of your body because it creates discomfort for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you an exercise here that I learned through Anatomy in Motion, which has become one of the most important exercises for me I've ever done, and I trained a lot of people with it. And what it does is it helps you to learn to go back into your spine and to re-access your spine, and to learn to take your spine through its capabilities and its movements. It's only when your brain suddenly realizes, oh, actually I can access this part of my spine, then you'll start to use that in your normal posture, in your golfing posture, and then in your golf swing. So in simple terms, if I could wrap this up, it's really saying that if your posture is moved away from neutral or from ideal, it's going to have an effect on your golf swing. I'm not going to say it's going to make you a better or worse golfer, but it's going to have an effect. For your general well-being and for the potential of your golf swing, I'm encouraging you to learn to get your posture back and find out where your body's capable of moving to. So the first exercise I'm going to give you is what's known as a cog exercise. And what it does is it helps you to open up the body and to get the spine moving through the way it should be moving. So I'm just going to change this again here a little bit, okay? Now, the way it works is this. I'm going to do it in a couple of demonstrations. From a standing position, you can do this laying on the ground. I wouldn't be able to demonstrate that properly to you here, but for many of you may find this easier laying on the ground with your knees bent, feet on the floor, okay? But what you're going to do is, from this standing position, is you're going to basically learn to extend your thoracic spine, which is here, lifting your rib cage up. And as you do that, if I just demonstrate first of all, what you'll see is that my nose effectively goes down. So I go from here, if you watch my nose goes down. At the same time as my nose going down, my belt buckle goes down as well. So just watch that again. As I extend here, so I'm extending out, you could say pushing my chest out, but extending out, my nose goes down, and my belt buckle goes down. Now the reverse, I'm going to let the chest come in, and as I do that, my belt buckle and my nose are riding up. Now, can you see why they're called cogs? Because when they move up, they work as a set of cogs. The two on the outside, the skull and the pelvis, the spine in the middle. So as the skull and the pelvis are doing this, the spine is coming out. As the skull and the pelvis are doing this, the spine is going in. They're cogs. Now, before I get you to do it, I want you to give the why this is so important. Not only is it waking up your spine and it's essential for you. In the golf swing, the movement your body should be going through the golf swing is a cog. Your spine is rotating in the golf swing and bending, for me as a right-handed golfer, bending to the left. That's how the spine works. It's rotating to the right, bending to the left, at the same time as my pelvis turning and shifting to the right. So we've got these kind of cog effects going on in the spine. As one's moving one way, another part is moving another way. Now, that's your ideal golf swing. That's your ideal movement in a golf swing. But if you're not training your spine and your body to do that, if you're not allowing your body to access its ability to do that, then of course it limits the chance of happening in the golf swing. So what I love to do is I love to help train you on what the body can do, and then forget about it when you go and play, because then you can play with a quieter mind. But so I love to train and leave, do the training on the practice ground at home sometimes as we're talking here, and then you can forget about it to some extent, leave it, because you've trained your brain to realize, let's say for example you had this posture. Now by doing this exercise, your brain starts going, wow, I've forgotten I could go there. So now when I set up to a golf ball, I can actually have this posture rather than this posture. And that will make all the difference to just about everything in your golf swing. It would affect your weight distribution, affect the power you can create, affect how far you can rotate. So it's not the easiest thing to show you on video here, and not being with you in person, but it's that important that I wanted to go through. So now I'm going to so I hope you've grasped that how these cogs start to allow the spine to find all its different positions that it should have access to, that we don't always have access to because we've lived in one place for too long. But we need to give it access. Then when it has access, we'll be able to use those cogs in the golf swing of having all the different intricate movements to go on that we want, but without having to think about it. So with that explanation, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on just the exercise so you know how to do it properly. And this is why I want to keep this here. Imagine, this is the only way I can do it where you can see it. Imagine this is a wall, okay? So this is how I'm going to ask you to do it. You're going to stand against the wall, okay, with your heels just away from the wall, but let me just make sure I can do it, but with your back against the wall here, okay? That's not a good angle, so let me just do this a minute. Right, that should work now. Okay, so here's me against the wall now. Okay, you can probably just about see that. So my head's a bit higher than actually the top of that. My head's against the wall, the base of my spine, my pelvis is against the wall, and my mid-back is against the wall. My heels are just away. The reason you want to do this is you want to stay, as I go through the cogs, you want to stay in contact with the wall. So again, think of skull and spine and pelvis going down. Yeah, thoracic coming out, but everything's on the wall. Then I go the other way. Okay, everything's still on the wall. Okay, can you see that? All on the wall. So that's the movement. Now, once you've done that, you then extend it, the movement, by rotating the thumbs out. So as you extend here, let the thumbs then turn out. Hopefully you can see that. I'm just going to change that slightly. Okay, so as you extend here, you go into the cog, you then turn the thumbs out. Then as you go the other way, you turn the thumbs in. Now again, the reason the wall is there is because what I don't want you doing is, I want you to be aware if you've gone like that and come away too much. That's really where it tends to go wrong. So the wall is there to help you have that reference, okay? Now, as I said, for some of you, if you stand against the wall and actually you can't get your head anywhere near it, then actually do it on the floor. Definitely start on the floor. You do need the ability to be able to have your head there. If you can't do it, start on the floor and go through the exercise on the floor. There will be a replay of this, so you can go straight back to it. But in essence, again, the skull and the pelvis are going in one direction, okay? And then the spine is going the other direction. But if you use your thumbs as well, I think you'll start to feel that. You can see the chest coming out, chest coming in. As you start to do that, you'll start to feel that lovely movement going through your spine, which I think will make a huge difference. So that is a really important exercise. It's like a base fundamental. That's the equivalent of, is my grip okay? Is my setup okay? Those type of things. That's the equivalent of that in terms of how your body functions and how your body moves. So I'm going to see if I can get you a video for that as well, and I'll send you that as well. But hopefully that's been useful. Just do it every day. You don't need to do it for long, by the way. Just a few minutes, and be really mindful. Don't rush through it. Just be very mindful as you go through it and feel what's happening to the different parts of your body. One thing I'll add, by the way, as you go through the extension here, you'll feel your weight goes to the forefoot. As you go into the teenager slump, you'll feel your weight go into your heels more. Okay, so you'll feel that shifting going on. Now, I'm going to show you now a quick video of Rory McIlroy, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the next part. So I hope you're finding that. I hope that's useful. So, right, let me just show you Rory McIlroy. It's a slow motion swing. Just watch the fluidity of the swing. Okay, so what I want you to do, just focus on the rhythm. I know it's slow motion, but focus on the rhythm and the fluidity of this swing. And can you see how just about like each area of his body, I'm taking it back, each area of his body is moving. What have I done now? I seem to have stopped him. Hold on a second. Oh, here he goes. Each area of his body is moving different amounts. You know, how much the knees, the hips move. This is very slow motion, this one. But every bit is moving a different amount. And this is really important to grasp. That's where the rhythm comes from, by his ability to segregate and move different parts of the body to some extent independently. They are, of course, all working together, but meaning one part of the body can move more than another part of the body. Okay. Now, let me bring you back in and I'll explain to you what we're going to do to help you to do that as well. Okay. So I already said to you that in the golf swing movement, the way it works with the cogs is that different parts of the body are going in different directions in different ways. That's how you create the rhythm. Again, through sometimes inactivity, through exercising the wrong way, we sometimes don't have the ability, or we've lost the ability to be able to separate different parts of our body. So I'm going to give you a really simple exercise to do here. And this is something you can do with me pretty quickly. And what it does is it's training your body to be able to segregate different parts of the body. Because if it doesn't realize, if your brain's running this show, your brain doesn't realize it has access to these different things and can move them independently, then it won't use them. I'm saying, if you don't use it, you lose it. So what these exercises are designed to do is to wake your body up again to what it needs to be able to do to help it in the golf swing. So what we're going to focus on here is basically the pelvis, the rib cage, and again, the skull or the neck. And what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you to learn to move each part independently, okay? Because we need to do that effectively in the golf swing. So what we're going to do to start with is going to say, hold your rib cage, your chest, and your head still, and just focus on just moving the pelvis underneath that. One way and then the other way. So we'll show you from this position here. Okay, so move it from one way and then the other way. I'll just get my hand out of the way, you can see it. There you go. So you can see my chest is staying still, but my pelvis is rotating under. Once I've done that, then I'm going to keep the pelvis still, and I'm going to keep my head still and move my chest. So I'll put my hands here, there. Okay, so my pelvis is now still, my head is still, but now my rib cage is effectively moving around. And then finally, my neck and my head with the other two parts staying still. That's the first part. Now what you're then going to do, so you're going to practice moving each part independently. What you should be able to, what hopefully you'll find, is that your ability to move left and right is comparable. You may possibly find it's not. What you may find, for example, is that you can move your rib cage to the left here, but actually can only get it to there on the right. Or with the rib or the pelvis, you can move your pelvis a long way to the right, but you can barely move it to the left. If that's the case, don't force it. If there's any pain, obviously don't do it, but just gently learn to, just by practicing and becoming aware, you should start to be able to move those parts. Because think about it, if in this basic motion, if you suddenly realize one side of the body doesn't move as much as the other, is that going to affect the golf swing? Of course it is. That's your body. And again, the final exercise we come to, you'll realize how that's going to help. So go through the different areas. Pelvis, okay, so pelvis first of all, moving on its own, nothing else. Rib cage, moving, nothing else. Neck, moving, nothing else. Once you've done that, so why don't we have a go at that quickly together now? So jump up and we go through. So let's go pelvis first of all, okay? So try and be aware of everything above stays, and just, if you've got a belt on, think of moving the belt underneath your rib cage. And be aware, do I move one side more than the other? Also be aware, do I feel my weight shifting on my feet to the side that I'm rotating towards? Because that's ideally what should happen. If it's not, encourage that a little bit. Then go to your rib cage now. So keep everything else still. Now you're going to move the ribs underneath there. Again, be aware, is it the same both sides? Okay. And a little bit again, do you feel the weight shifting as you go from one side to the other, which should naturally happen? And then finally the neck, you won't feel so much of a weight shift here, but can I move my neck of a similar amount from side to side? Because everything's turning under the neck. If the neck's restricted, that's going to affect things below it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put that into a sequence. Now you're going to actually build it up so it has more comparison, if you like, to golf swing. So you're going to go, first of all, pelvis to the right. These two still. Head's going to stay still now. Rib cage to the right. And then finally, head all the way around. Okay? Now you can bring them back in segments as well. Now we're going to go to the left. Pelvis to the left. Rib cage to the left. Head to the left. Okay. Now, for some of you, this will feel the equivalent of rubbing your tummy and patting your head at the same time. It will feel like, wow, that's really complicated to do. But that's the point. Getting you mindful enough, getting you in tune enough with this body of yours, and training it, if you like, to be able to make some of these simple movements, which are critical for your ability to have a flowing, rhythmical golf swing, like we saw in Rory McIlroy's, is essential. There's little point in working on the rhythm of your golf swing if you can get benefit from that. So let me make that point clear. But if your body doesn't want to do what it is you're asking it to do, then you're better off helping your body do it away from the golf swing. So these really basic exercises to do here will really help you achieve that. So that's the next exercise. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So I'd love to be able to see you doing them. I'd love to be able to give you some pointers as to how well you're doing them. But as I say, if you want to recap on these, there'll be a replay available for those who have attended here, and you can just skip to that part of it and just watch that part. All right, now, the final part of the golf swing part. I'm going to give you an exercise which, if any of you have read my book, Intuitive Golf, you'll know there's a section there what I call the circle swing. It's an analogy I like to use in the golf swing. For many reasons. Is because it deals with how the mind works, and it also deals with how the body works. So in reality, in truth, your body moves subconsciously. When you make a decision, I'm going to use my little micro club here, okay? It's safer for me to do it here. When you make a decision to swing the golf club, okay, your subconscious mind, as I said earlier, is deciding what is the most effective way for my body to move to do that, making sure I'm in no pain, making sure I'm accessing the parts of my body that I know I can access. Which is why those exercises we've just done give your subconscious mind more access. It gives it more capability to tap into, which is why your golf swing can improve just by doing things like that. But what I want to do is give you a focus so that you can start to practice. So the circle swing, the purpose of the circle swing is this. You stop thinking about the body. You stop trying to do anything with the body. And you hand over the movement of the body 100% to your subconscious mind. In other words, you don't stand over the golf shot and say to yourself, here again a little bit. You don't stand over the golf shot and say to yourself, right, turn the right shoulder, pull the left knee forward, get the hips in. None of that. You hand over all movement of the body to the subconscious mind. All you focus on is the golf club head specifically. If I say to any of you, what shape does the golf swing create with the club head? Most people say, well, it's pretty circular. That's hence why I call it the circle swing. So the only focus becomes you set up to the golf ball in your posture, hopefully your newfound posture because your body can access more. And you simply focus on the club head and you say, right, I'm going to make a big circle with the club head around my body and let my body respond and follow that. So instead of my body trying to move the golf club, I'm going to focus my mind on the club head and just focus my mind on moving the club head through a circle around my body. My body is the center of the circle. Moving that club head around the circle and let my body respond to that. Now, some of you might be thinking immediately, but my body must move the golf club. Yes, of course it does. There's a really important thing here to grasp. Sometimes what actually happens is not what you want to focus on. You want to focus on something that allows what actually happens to happen naturally. And that's my point here, is we're going to hand over the movement of your body in the golf swing to the subconscious mind. Now, why is this important, again, building up to coming out of lockdown? Well, there is a chance you might start now to be thinking about, oh, I've got to do this in the swing and get these parts of the swing right. If you haven't been hitting balls for a while, again, hopefully you're doing some of the exercises I've just given you, but your body may not be moving in the best way. So rather than forcing the body, let the subconscious mind, which knows your body better than you consciously know it, let your subconscious mind move the body through the swing. The way you do that is you give your conscious mind something else to focus on. When you set up to the golf ball, the golf club and the ball are on the ground. You are standing beside it. The golf club is already on the outer edge of that circle. All I'm asking you to do is to think about how big that circle is likely to be around your body and just let the club head stay on it as it goes up, as it comes down, and as it goes through. And as you do that, just let your body respond to the golf club's movement. When you allow the body to respond, it now simply means your subconscious mind has taken over the movement for you, which means less thought for you. It means less chance of injury. It means the high likelihood of better timing because you've allowed the subconscious mind to do it. Think about how amazing some of the things your body does subconsciously, like catching a ball. Think about somebody throwing a ball to you, calling your name, you look at it, oh, catching it. Invariably, you'll catch it. If you thought about the level of detail that goes on in your ability to do that, if you actually try to think about it, you would not even get your hand up in time to meet the ball. It is so complex. So please trust your subconscious mind knows exactly how to move your body to get the best result. But the problem we have very often is we want to get involved, we want to tell the body what to do, we want to move it, and we want to control it. So again, if you're grasping what I'm saying here, what I've tried to do is to give you exercises to make your body more likely to be more efficient and more effective, like the COX, like the separation exercise. And then we're going to say, right, I've trained it, now I'm going to leave it. How do I leave it? I've got to stop thinking about it, but I need something to think about. That's where the circle exercise comes in. Focus your mind on the club head. Think of a circle going around the body. You're the center of the circle. Let the club head stay on that circle, going up, coming down, and going through. And the more you can keep your conscious mind on that club head, staying on that circle, and give all the movement of the body over to the subconscious mind, the more you can do that, the more natural your swing will be, the better the timing you'll have, the better coordination you have. And I said, very importantly, the less chance you'll have of injury. So that's the movement for the circle swing, which really helps you to be able to swing subconsciously. If you are in a position you can do it in a garden or even in the house, if you've got a small club like me, or you've got no lights to smash, then go ahead and start thinking about that. Get into a posture, allow your mind to focus on the club head, and allow the body to start responding. I think you'll like that feeling. Some of you may have already done it, particularly if you've read the book or had some lessons with our coaches. You may have already done it, but come back to it. It's a great starting point for when you come out of lockdown. So you don't go out to your first game overthinking, trying to do too many things. Does that make sense? So hopefully that makes sense.